Now, MS is a disease that nearly 1 million people are diagnosed with across the country. Earlier this week, I sat down with Dr. Roberto Alejandro Cruz from DHR Health to get a better understanding of MS. Check it out. Dr. Cruz, thank you for joining us here today.
My pleasure, Sandra.
Of course. Now, to begin, what is multiple sclerosis?
So multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune condition. It's an autoimmune disease. Autoimmune means when your own system, your own defenses are attacking yourself. In the case of multiple sclerosis, is when your defenses are attacking your brain and your spinal cord. Basically, they are confusing your brain and your spinal cord with a virus and it's attacking them.
Now, what are some signs of people experiencing this condition?
Well, because it can affect any part of your central nervous system, which is the brain, the optic nerves, and the spinal cord, the symptoms can be really sometimes difficult to pick up at the beginning because fatigue is the #1 symptom. But of course, we do have more typical events of MS. There's something that is called optic neuritis, for example, that when a patient will wake up and be basically blind from one eye and be really painful. That's one thing, but it can also affect your motor skills, meaning you give weakness, coordination problems. It can affect your balance, it can affect your bladder, your bowel, your vision, your cognition, your memory. So it can really be a very diverse set of symptoms.
Now, what are the age groups that this condition usually affects?
That's an excellent question, because usually when we think about diseases or condition, we think about older people. But with MS in particular, it actually affects the young. It's a disease of young patients. Wow. So we're seeing that the median age right now is about 30 years, but it's very common to diagnose people in their 20s. Sometimes actually teenage years are also common right now. So anywhere between teenage years up to 30, 40 years of age that's when we diagnose people with MS. The closer we get to 50, 60, that's when it's likely not MS.
Is there anything that we know of what leads to getting multiple sclerosis?
There's a lot of research now in that area. We know there is a combination of things. We know that you need to have the genes. So you need to have the specific genes that predispose you to have this disease, but that's not enough. Because you need a trigger. Now we know that the trigger is a virus. At least for 85% of patients, the virus is the Epstein-Barr, the mononucleosis virus, the kissing bug, as it's called. We know that people that have some genes that predispose them for MS, if they're exposed to this virus, they're likely to develop this disease. However, we do have patients that they have never been exposed to the virus and they ended up getting that disease. So that's when we know that maybe there are other triggers that we might not know might play a role.
Now, how prevalent is this here in the Valley?
In the Valley, it is prevalent. We don't have a specific data. It's hard to get, but just to give you an example, at least at DHR in our MS center, it has been open now for almost 4 years, and we have anywhere from 500 to 600 MS patients here in the Valley. Now, talking about the prevalence in the U.S., now we know that there's close to 1 million people in the U.S. living with MS right now.
Now, you already touched on it a little bit, but what care is there available in the Valley for these patients?
Well, now we do have, basically, we can offer everything that any other MS center in the state or in the nation will be. We are a partner with MS, and we're about to become a comprehensive MS center, so we have access to all the therapies that are available. We have close to 30 FDA-approved medications for MS. We have all the diagnostics that we can use to diagnose MS, and of course we have all the services that can help with MS symptoms as well. So I think that's something important, because 5 years ago we didn't have this, and now people don't need to travel anymore to get the care they need.
That's great to hear. Now, my last question is, where can people go for more information or to get help?
Well, they can call the number that we're going to be providing. They can call DHR Health and ask for information to call our MS center at DHR Health, and we'll be happy to give them all the information they need.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Cruz, for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Of course. Now, the South Texas Multiple Sclerosis Council is hosting their annual MS 5K Walk and Run on March 30th. It'll be at Kenneth White Junior High School in Mission from 8 a.m. until noon. To register and for more information, you can go to southtexasmscouncil.com.